just read chapter 19 of the Gospel of Luke. And we are in the middle of the journey of Jesus from the Galilee to Jerusalem. That is the last journey, it's the third journey. And you know that the Jewish people, when they had to go from Galilee to Jerusalem, they never took the shortest way because they needed to cross Samaria. So instead of passing through Samaria, which was an impure land, where the Samaritans, those impure people lived, so they, for not contaminating themselves, Jewish people, they decided to go toward east. They crossed the river, the Jordan River, and then they went down all along the river until, they reached, they went towards south until they reached, that place where they could cross the Jordan and have in front of them, the right way toward Jerusalem. But before Jerusalem, the closest city in that area is Jericho. Jericho is the same city that the people of Israel, coming back from Egypt after wandering for 40 years in the desert, then from east they crossed the Jordan, probably in the same area where Jesus crossed too. And so they found Jericho, the first city in Joshua. You remember, it was going around the walls of Jericho that then fall. So Jesus, he approaches Jericho. Jericho is a very rich city. It's believed to be the most ancient town. Thousands and thousands of years ago. It's a rich city. It's a city of business. It's a city where there is pleasure, where there is money, where there are a lot of sinners. So Jesus, instead of saying, let's go around the city, Jesus is crossing the city. He wants to pass through it. And of course, in this city, since there is a lot of money, there are also a lot of tax collectors. There are so many that there is also a chief of the tax collectors, which is, the Zacchaeus of our gospel. And Zacchaeus is looking for Jesus. Why? Why is he looking for Jesus? Because he probably heard about this prophet who is passing through the city, and he wants to see him because we are all looking for happiness. Most of the times in the wrong places. Like, for example, a husband who betrays his wife is somebody who is looking for happiness in the wrong place. And somebody who smokes marijuana is somebody who is looking for happiness, but in the wrong place. And somebody who drinks a lot, is still somebody who is looking for happiness, but in the wrong place. And so Zacchaeus was looking for happiness, and he thought that he found happiness in money. He was not only the chief of the tax collectors, but he was also a rich man, a wealthy man. But all that money was not enough. He still had his sadness inside. So when they said there is a prophet passing by, he jumped on top of a tree in order to see Jesus. The sycamore is a tree with a lot of leaves because he wanted to see Jesus without being seen. But Jesus, who knows everything, when he reached the place where there is the tree, he raised his eyes and he looks Zacchaeus, and he calls him by his name. And he says, in Hebrew, what he says is Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus, which is the name of Zacchaeus, in Hebrew means pure. So this is how Jesus calls that name, pure. You know that, name is man. Above all, in the culture, the Jewish culture, your name is your mission, is your vocation. So Jesus is calling him pure, not only to remind him of his vocation, because Zacchaeus is everything but not pure. He's probably the most impure person. In fact, when Jesus decides to go to his home, everybody's complaining. People are grumbling. Not only the enemies of Jesus, but also the disciples. And that is not the first time. It happened already when Jesus called Matthew, and then he went to join the party at his home. So he calls him pure, to tell him there is still time. There is still time to be pure. It doesn't matter what you did before. There is still the hope of a new life. And that is what gives to Zacchaeus, that incredible joy. That instead of having a life that is already done, because this is what sin produces in us. Every sin is leading us to the same place. You do one sin, then you do another one, then you do 1,000 sins, and at the end, you would think, that your life is ruined, that you cannot go back anymore. And sometimes, sometimes you may also think that it's better for me to die, because there is nothing good that I can do in my life anymore. Every sin leads to the same place. And that was the place where Zacchaeus was. And then he meets Jesus, he sees his eyes, and he understands that there is still hope to have a pure life, because Jesus, in 1 second, already forgave all his sins. And so Jesus tells him, come down quickly. Why quickly? Quickly, that quickly is the same quickly that you said, that the boyfriend says to the girlfriend, when he goes there and ring at the door, and he says, come out quickly, because every second is important, So that's why Jesus says, quickly, come down, come quickly to me. Maybe sometimes we go to church and we are not so willing, we are not so excited sometimes. But Jesus is always excited to see us. He's waiting for us with that excitement, with that joy. Come in quickly, don't waste your time. Because I want to enter in your house. Jesus doesn't only want to enter in the house. What he wants is to enter in the heart of Zacchaeus. That house is the heart of Zacchaeus. What does it mean to enter in the heart? When a person is entering in your heart, when you have a person who entered in your heart, it means that that person became the most important person to you. And you cannot do anything but thinking to that person, because it is in your heart. She is in your heart. This is what Jesus wants. He wants to enter in our heart. Jesus wanted to enter in the heart of Zacchaeus. I want to be in your heart, because you are in mine. And so he goes to the house of Zacchaeus. Everybody grumbling, and you see, those eyes, the eyes of Jesus, the hope a new life, the fact that Jesus entered in the heart of Zacchaeus, of these things leads to a decision. The decision of changing my life. So, how come that even though we know Jesus, and we go to church every Sunday, we be every day, and we receive communion, how come that we didn't change life yet? How come that there is still something in our life going on that is not working, that is not according, to the happiness that Jesus wants for us? There is only one reason. Because Jesus is not yet in our heart 100%. We still have other things, other human things that are holding us back from giving to Jesus, everything. And in fact, you see, Zacchaeus, he finds his treasure now. Now we found Jesus. He knows now that Jesus is the most important thing. So he decides. He was a wealthy man. That day he decides to become poor. He decides to give away 50% of his belongings to the poor. To the poor means no way back. This is what it means, 50% to the poor. Because, poor people, they have a lot of needs. So you cannot, the following day, if you go there and you ask the money back, they don't have that anymore. They already spent everything because they are poor. They need. And then, if I extorted something from somebody, I will give back 4 times. In the tradition of the Jews, the Talmud was the teachings of the rabbis. It was said that if you robbed to somebody and you wanted to repent, you needed to give back not only what you robbed, but also 20% more. That's why Jewish people, they thought that, a tax collector could never repent. Because they needed to give a lot of money. All the money that they robbed in a lifetime, and then 20% more will be impossible. And Zacchaeus knows that very well. And all the people there around him, they know that already also. And Zacchaeus says, I'm giving back 4 times. I'm going to give everything, because now I found everything that is